Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host for today. We are talking UFC Vegas 98. We've got Tatsuro Taira versus Brandon Royval. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. And listen, we are coming off another profitable evening last weekend at UFC 307, picking up nearly 8 units of profit for clients. This puts us right around the 95 unit profit for 2024 in MMA. We are absolutely dominating, nearly 30. What was it, 20? I'm going to give you the exact, like 29.3 ROI right now this year. We are just finding strong positions, plus money, and really solid betting opportunities here. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Have a 4% play up right now. Last 12 months, 19-5 on 4% best bet play. So we're kicking ass. We're taking names, and we're going to keep moving forward here. So take a look there. But with that being said, we are going to dive into the main event of the evening between Tatsuro Taira and Brandon Royval. Now, you got Taira here, minus 275. The comeback, you've got Royval plus 220. Now, looking at this fight here, you've got Taira, who looks to have the goods, right? He's 16-0, 24 years old, 6-0 in the UFC, 4 finishes. Really looks the part, great grappling, really has ability to find those finishes. He's just going to consistently get better in the UFC, just the way that he's just the foundation he has and where he's going to go overall. But with that being said, you've got Brandon Royval in this spot here, and there are things that he can do to really cause some problems here. And I think one of the first things here is the fact that, he does have ability everywhere. He's a threat on the feet. He's a threat on the mat. And that can offer a different kind of style and different things to worry about for Tatsuro Taira. This is a big step up in competition for him compared to some of his past opponents. But you do look at, Royval on the feet, he's a slick southpaw. He brings good volume, brings good pressure, dynamic striking. He's going to mix it up. He's going to throw knees, elbows, spinning attacks. He's really going to mix it up for you. And also he just mixes it up on the target on his opponent. He's able to start to chop at the leg, the body. He mixes up the head, throwing a takedown. I mean, really mixing it up. And that's something that with Taira on the feet, he likes to have a little bit more of a cleaner kind of rangy kickboxing fight. That's not really what Royval is going to bring. He's going to bring a little bit more chaos, a little bit more dirtiness to it, and really get in there, and that could cause some problems. And even on the mat here, there's no doubt, Taira, he's solid. The guy definitely has ability on the mat, slick transitions, slick reversals. We'll find, something latch in a submission. Definitely has that. But you got Royval, and I think he can be competitive here. He definitely has opportunistic submission game, good at scrambles, good at creating scrambles as well, too. And I think those are some things that are going to work out well for him in this spot. And also, you've got Taira, who doesn't have the greatest wrestling, and that could open up, again, opportunities for Royval, where if he can't get any of these takedowns, the fight may stay standing. I do think Royval brings some interesting dynamic when it's on the feet as well, and then you're looking at a big favorite here. It does seem that this line is wide, and then you also look at the step up in competition here, and I think that is a big one here also, where the last 3 fights for Taira are a little interesting here. He beat Edgar Chairez, who's 11-6 as a pro fighter, 1-2-1 in the UFC. You've got he beat Carlos Hernandez, who's 9-4 as a professional, 2-3 in the UFC. And then a big step up was his fight against Alex Perez. And this was a big fight where, hey, it's Perez, the guy is a grizzled vet and all these things, and big step up. But you look at it, first round, all 3 judges scored it for Perez, which is very interesting. Perez won the first round, then blew out his knee in the second round. Credit to Taira, he was on his back, but either way, blew out his knee. It goes to a victory for Taira. And now he has another step up in competition here against Brandon Royval. And Royval has faced very tough level of competition here, only losing to really former or past champions. I mean, he lost to Alejandro Pantoja, current champion. He lost to Brandon Moreno, former champion. And then just recently, he beats Brandon Moreno. And I think that's a great sign here for Royval, where, again, he's fighting top-tier guys, being competitive. Royval now is 32 years old, in his prime. I think also just the experience level, who he's faced, is going to be big also. So in this spot here, this line may consistently get wider here, and you could see people still hammering this minus 300, minus 320. Who knows where this line's going to go here? But I do like, even at this price, I like Royval here. We'll see where this line goes, but I do like Brandon Royval at that plus money number. I think this is a dog or pass spot. Now, the next fight we're going to talk about here is going to be Jonathan Pearce versus Pat Sabatini. We've got Pearce, he's minus 150. The comeback, we've got Pat Sabatini plus 125. Now, you look at this fight here, and, a lot of interesting line movement in this fight here. You've got, Jonathan Pearce, who, 2 weeks ago was a minus 180. Money comes in on Sabatini. This line gets to about a minus 120 for Pearce. And then all of a sudden, we are seeing over the last 48 hours, just money pouring in on Pearce. This one, minus 130, 140, 150. You're seeing some 160s and 170s out there in the market right now. I do think that's going to be very interesting, kind of where this money is all going, kind of all over the place. And I do also think the initial money was a little bit of recency bias. You've got, Jonathan Pearce, who goes out there, back-to-back losses, gets finished by Joanderson Brito, loses to David Onama. Not the greatest looks overall there. But what I do think is interesting is that both these guys are grapplers. They're going to look to grapple. They're going to look for submission games, look for takedowns. And you've got, Jonathan Pearce, who's a guy that, wants to really pressure, relentless takedowns and smother your offense, where you've got Sabatini's more of a guy, jiu-jitsu guy, going to look to, find those submissions, get takedowns, and really hunt for those submissions. Now, where I think that Pearce really has an advantage here is going to be how he weaponizes pace. I think it's been really incredible how he's able to do it. He is just nonstop action where he's going to come forward, he's going to be throwing, he's going to try to get in your face, again, smother you, and really just outpace you with volume and pressure. And that can open up opportunities for him against the fence. This is going to be the apex cage. There's going to be opportunities for him to kind of find some of that, to look for some takedowns. And he is able, to also, when he gets a guy down, work from top position, bank rounds, and that can work for him. Now, you've got Sabatini, who is obviously a guy who doesn't mind being on the ground. The issue here is the fact that, if Pearce gets him down, you do see that Sabatini plays off his back a lot. He's a guy that's going to play off his back, hunt for submissions, throw up submissions off his back. And I think Pearce can stay alive there. I think he can outmuscle it there, keep him down, and really just outwork him over those 3 rounds and really just keep him there. Because if he's going to be fine playing on bottom, Pearce is going to be fine playing on top and ground and pounding and just kind of positionally winning. I think that's where it goes there. And then also, lastly, is the striking. I think you've got to favor Pearce here in the striking. I think his combinations are better. I think that you have Pat Sabatini, who is also a guy who's hittable, questionable chin. We've seen him rocked and wobbled multiple times. And I think this is a spot where Pearce may be able to land something. But either way, I think he can get the finish. I think that he can positionally win, where Pat is kind of held, I think, to a submission here. And I think Pearce can do enough to really control the rounds or find the finish. So I like Jonathan Pearce minus 150. The next one here we're going to be talking about is going to be Daniel Rodriguez minus 220 against Alex Morono plus 170. Now, this is a fight here where, when I look at a new card after, cashing the last one, going back and looking at a new card, I'm looking at, fights, hey, this line's wide, or, this is one I got to dive into, or this is a line where, hey, I want to watch the market on here, or hey, this is one I'm going to wait for the prop market to open, or, certain things go on, or this is a fight I'm going to dive into right now. I think the line's good. I want to dive into it. So there's a lot of different things that go on. And in this particular fight is one where right when I saw it, it just seemed like the line was wide. And, there was a point where Daniel Rodriguez had some hype behind him. He was beating guys, looking pretty good. He beat some okay guys, but he beat some guys like Mike Perry, Preston Parsons, Kevin Lee. But either way, he's getting victories and he was looking good. Good footwork, good combinations, fast hand speed. He's got the prison story. People love that. And all that stuff was very interesting. And he kind of started to get some momentum. Now he's on a 3-fight losing streak and arguably could be 0-4 out of his last 4, where he fought the Leech, where he won a split decision. I thought the Leech won it pretty clear 2-1. Either way, he gets the nod. But that, this could be an 0-4 fighter in this spot here. And then also the other part of it, when you're looking at it, is there's flaws here. And both of these fighters do have flaws. So there's definitely going to be that part of it. But there's going to be flaws, and there's also going to be aging happening for both of these guys here. And that's going to be a situation where you've got Daniel Rodriguez, who's now 37 years old. You've got Morono, who is 34, but you got him who's 37 years old. And the decline to me is happening. Yes, he's lost to some decent guys and all those things, but overall, one of the things I don't like is the fact that I don't like how he absorbs punches. I really feel like he is a little bit more hesitant. He's not really really pushing or really committing to his combinations anymore. He used to really have that tenacity to him. I feel like that's kind of been a step back from him overall. And then the other part here is not only is he aging, but he was popped not long ago for some PEDs. Either way, that happened. And also you can see, to me, I can see the decline. I can see the hand speed not being there. I can see the combinations not as crisp anymore. And I see that decline happening here, where I'm not saying that, Alex Morono is this, world beater here, but I do think he can present some problems. And I think one of them is going to be possibly a wrestling path here. I think that Daniel can be taken down. He's got these scrawny little legs. I think that he can be taken down, manipulated on the ground a little bit. Morono's a guy who's going to, bulldoze forward, throw big shots. He can be sloppy, but I do like he's an MMA coach. It's not that he's, I just think he's committed to the game. And I think that's different between someone like Alex Rodriguez, Daniel Rodriguez, because, Daniel is 37 years old, started his career late, was in prison. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there, but I think the decline, you can see it. I do think that there's opportunity here for Morono, get the takedowns, out wrestle him, get some control time, land bigger shots. And again, this is a spot here where I really kind of cap this as Daniel Rodriguez should be maybe a minus 120. I think he should be a slight, very, very slight minus 125 favorite here, because I just think that the drop off is about to happen here. And not that I'm big on Morono, but this is more of a fade on D-Rod, especially at a minus 220 price tag here. So I do like Alex Morono at this plus number to get the job done. And then the last one we're going to go over is going to be Themba Gorimbo. He is minus 360 against Niko Price plus 270. Now you've got Themba here, who is The Rock's favorite fighter here. If you don't know the story, go Google it, but I'm sure you do. Rock changed his life, was able to buy him a house and, provide for him a little bit here, where Themba didn't have money for a lunch after the gym, he was saying, and all sorts of things were going on. So great for him that all that stuff is happening in a positive way. And looking at, skill wise, he's good. He's good. He's not great, but he's good. And he's got some decent striking. He's got some decent grappling overall. And you've got Niko Price, who's more of a high pace guy, gonna come forward. And the thing about Niko is that he really just wants to be entertaining. It almost seems as if he wants to be more entertaining than he wants to be committed to finding paths to victory for him. And that's something where I do think that you've got somebody like Gorimbo, who I think that forces his path into wrestling. And I think that Gorimbo is not going to want to be a guy that's going to look for, to sit and strike with the crazy, unorthodox, combinations coming from Niko. He's wild. He'll throw the kitchen sink at you. And you're not really sure, if he's coming forward like that, is Themba really going to be this slick counter striker to land big shots? I don't really put him in that category overall. And I think that really allows somebody like Gorimbo to look for those takedowns. And I think that when he's coming forward, Niko throwing these big shots, the takedowns can be there. Again, this is going to be the apex cage. Less footwork for him. I think he can dive in, look at legs, grab them, take them down, and get that control time there. He averages 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. I think that's kind of where this goes here. But at this point here, I do like Themba. I think that Themba has the opportunity to get the control time, to really just bank the rounds. Yes, he got a finish in the UFC, but it was against Pete Rodriguez, who, he was really throwing an overhand to just cut distance to look for the takedown, but it landed on Pete Rodriguez's chin, put him out, got the ground and pound finish here. I think it's a little bit different here. I think Niko can survive, and I think it's going to be a positional win here. So I do like Themba Gorimbo to win via points, and it's plus 170. I like that number here, getting off the big number here on Gorimbo money line. I think it's a likely path. I think Niko can last, and I think that's where it's going to go. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 98. If you want to become a client, link down in description. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, do all of those great things. I appreciate it very much. And let's keep it going. I'll see you next weekend. Let's cash.